The Horizon Global boardroom, on the 12th floor of the commercial building on Fifth Avenue, was enveloped in a heavy silence that Tuesday morning. The air conditioning hummed softly, but it couldn't dissipate the tension that hung between the executives in grey suits and discreet ties. Anna Beatrice Sterling adjusted her cleaning cart in the adjacent corridor, her worn sneakers making little noise against the polished marble floor. She shouldn't have been there at that hour, but the facilities manager had asked her to expedite the cleaning of that floor because there was an important meeting scheduled. Important. The word echoed in Anna's mind as she organized her cleaning products. At 27, she knew well the meaning of that word within those mirrored walls. Important meant that men and women in expensive suits would decide the fate of people like her, who entered through the back door and left without anyone noticing their presence. Anna pulled the mop from the bucket and began to move down the corridor, staying close enough to hear, but distant enough not to disturb. Mr. Alistair's deep voice, the company's CEO, cut through the silence like a blade. He was a man in his 60s, with perfectly combed grey hair and a posture that exuded decades of command. That morning, however, there was something different in his tone, something that made Anna stop mopping the floor for an instant. Horizon Global is on the brink of financial collapse. The words came out heavy, each syllable laden with a gravity that made the executives around the long table shift in their leather chairs. Anna felt her heart quicken. She knew that company inside and out. For 3 years she had cleaned those offices, 3 years of waking up at 4 in the morning to take 2 buses to Fifth Avenue, 3 years of returning home at night, too tired to do anything but check if her mother, Mrs. Lucy, had taken her medicine. "We will need to make drastic cuts," Mr. Alistair continued. His voice trembled imperceptibly, something only someone accustomed to hearing nuances would catch. 70% of the workforce will be laid off in the coming weeks. It's the only way to keep the company running and avoid total bankruptcy. The silence that followed was deafening. Anna gripped the mop handle so tightly that her fingers turned white. 70%. She quickly did the math in her head. Horizon Global employed about 1,200 people. That meant 840 families would lose their source of income, 840 stories like hers, people who depended on that job to pay rent, buy food, support children, care for sick parents. Around the table, the directors began to speak at once. Voices overlapped in attempts to understand, to question, to propose alternatives. Anna recognized some of them. There was Helen Miller, the CFO, a woman in her 40s who always greeted Anna with a genuine smile when they crossed paths in the corridors. There was Mark Thompson, the operations director, a serious but fair man who once helped Anna carry a heavy bucket when she hurt her wrist. And there was Robert Finch, the administrative director. Robert was different from the others. He had joined the company less than a year ago, but already held a position of considerable power. He was a man in his 40s, always impeccably dressed, with a watch that probably cost more than Anna earned in 2 years. He had a habit of passing by her as if she were part of the furniture, without even a nod, of recognition. At that moment his voice stood out among the others, firm and controlled. "Mr. Alistair, with all due respect," Robert said, resting his elbows on the table, "these layoffs are inevitable. We have analyzed the numbers extensively. The company has been bleeding resources for months. If we don't act now, we will lose everything." Anna continued cleaning, moving slowly down the corridor. Her mind worked quickly, processing every word she heard. She had never studied beyond her 3rd year of business administration in college. She had needed to defer her enrollment when her mother suffered a stroke 2 years ago. The costs of physical therapy, medications, doctor's appointments, and a daytime caregiver consumed almost her entire salary. But those 3 years of study had not been in vain. Anna understood cash flow, balance sheets, financial statements. And something didn't make sense. She had cleaned that boardroom hundreds of times. She had seen documents left on tables, forgotten reports, spreadsheets open on computers that executives didn't bother to shut down when they left for lunch. It wasn't spying, it was simply being there, invisible, while corporate life unfolded around her. And in recent months, Anna had noticed things. Numbers. That didn't add up. Recurring payments to companies she had never heard of. amounts that seemed disproportionate. The meeting continued. Mr. Alistair explained the deadlines, the reduced severance packages, the layoff plans. The directors' voices mingled in protests and resignation. Anna stopped cleaning. Her heart pounded in her chest. She knew she shouldn't do it. She knew it wasn't her place. She knew that people like her didn't interrupt executive meetings. But she also knew that if she remained silent, 840 families would suffer for something that might be preventable. Before she could think better, before fear could paralyze her, Anna took 3 steps forward and gently tapped on the glass door of the boardroom. The sound reverberated through the silent corridor. All heads turned in her direction. Mr. Alistair frowned. Helen Miller looked surprised. Robert Finch narrowed his eyes with an ill-concealed expression of irritation. "Excuse me," Anna said, and her voice came out firmer than she expected. "I need to say something." Mr. Alistair looked at her as if he were seeing an apparition. "Young lady, this is a private meeting. Please return to your work." "I know, sir." Anna took another step into the room, feeling all eyes on her. Her hands trembled slightly, but she kept them firm at her sides. "I know it's not my place to speak, but I heard what you said about the layoffs, and I think the company doesn't need to lay anyone off." The silence that followed was different from the previous one. It was a silence of shock, of disbelief. Robert was the first to react, letting out a short, humorless laugh. "You think?" he repeated, with a scornful smile on his lips. "And who exactly are you, a corporate finance expert who works as a cleaner in her spare time?" Some of the executives laughed nervously. Anna felt the heat rise up her neck, but she didn't avert her gaze. "I deferred my 3rd year of business administration 2 years ago," she said calmly, "and I've worked here for 3 years. I clean this room every day. I see the documents, the reports, the numbers, and I've noticed things." Robert stood up from his chair, his posture aggressive. "Noticed things," he scoffed. "Are you admitting that you're snooping on confidential company documents? That's grounds for immediate dismissal." Mr. Alistair raised his hand, silencing Robert. There was something in the CEO's gaze, a mixture of curiosity and weariness. "What things have you noticed?" he asked, his voice neutral. Anna took a deep breath. This was the moment. Either she backed down and returned to her safe invisibility, or she took the step that would change everything. She thought of her mother lying in bed at home, still struggling to regain movement on the right side of her body. She thought of her colleagues, the receptionists, the security guards, all the people who would be discarded. She thought of what was right. The money didn't disappear due to poor market management, Anna said, meeting Mr. Alistair's eyes. "It's draining away through a leak you're not seeing. In the last 6 months, I've seen huge payments to a company called Nexus Solutions, millions of dollars, but I've never seen anyone from that company here, never seen reports of work delivered, never seen anything to justify those amounts." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Robert slowly sat back down, his face losing some color. Helen Miller leaned forward, her sharp eyes focused on Anna. Mr. Alistair clasped his fingers on the table, studying the woman in front of him, as if seeing her for the first time. "Those are very serious accusations," the CEO said slowly, "and frankly absurd coming from someone without access to the company's financial systems." Anna maintained her upright posture. "I don't have access to the systems, sir, but I have eyes, and I know how to add. The company was fine until 6 months ago. That's exactly when these payments started. It's not a coincidence." Robert slammed his hand on the table hard enough to make some executives jump in their chairs. "This is ridiculous," he exclaimed, his voice rising an octave. "This woman is making up stories to get attention. She's probably trying to avoid being included in the layoffs. Mr. Alistair, I suggest we dismiss her immediately for insubordination." The CEO raised his hand again, this time more firmly. A tense silence settled. Anna could hear her own heart beating, the hum of the air conditioning, the distant ticking of a clock on the wall. Mr. Alistair watched her for a long moment, his tired eyes studying every detail of her face. Finally he spoke. "You have a lot of courage to interrupt this meeting, or a lot of foolishness. I don't know yet which of the two." He paused, drumming his fingers on the table. "But I'm curious. I'm going to make you an offer." Mr. Alistair leaned back in his chair, his fingers clasped over his chest. Around the table, the executives remained silent, waiting. Robert Finch's jaw was clenched, his eyes fixed on Anna with an intensity bordering on hostility. Helen Miller, on the other hand, watched the scene with an expression of cautious fascination. "You will have 30 days, the CEO said, and the weight of each word reverberated through the room. 30 days. To prove that your theory has merit. If you can find this leak where the money is draining away and present me with concrete evidence, you will receive a prize of $1 million. The announcement provoked muffled murmurs among the executives. $1 million. But, Mr. Alistair continued, raising a warning finger, if you fail, you will be dismissed for insubordination. Without notice, without severance, without references. Do you accept these terms? Anna felt the ground give way beneath her feet for an instant. $1 million was more money than she could earn in a lifetime. It was. Enough to pay for all her mother's treatments, to go back to college, to have a decent life. But the risk was equally daunting. If she failed, she would lose the only job she had, the only means to support Mrs. Lucy. It would be the end of everything. She looked at Robert, who now wore a thin smile on his lips. He was confident she would fail. More than that, he seemed eager to see her fall. There was something in his eyes, something Anna couldn't quite name, but that made her instinct scream in alarm. "I accept," Anna said, and her voice didn't tremble. "But with one condition. I need to have access to the company's financial files, invoices, contracts, reports. How can I prove anything without being able to investigate?" Robert jumped to his feet, almost knocking over his chair. "Absolutely not!" he exclaimed. "This is confidential information. We can't just hand over sensitive company data to a cleaning employee. It's a violation of all security protocols." Mr. Alistair raised his hand once more, silencing the administrative director. He studied Anna for a few more seconds before nodding. "You will have supervised access," he decided. "The CFO, Helen, will accompany you and determine what you can or cannot see. If Helen judges that you are merely wasting time or trying to access information not relevant to your investigation, the agreement ends immediately. Is that acceptable?" Anna looked at Helen, who returned her gaze with a serious but not hostile expression. "It is acceptable, yes, sir." "Excellent." The CEO clapped his hand on the table with a dry sound. "Then it is decided. You have until the 15th of next month. This meeting is adjourned." The executives began to stand, collecting their tablets and folders. Robert walked past, Anna without looking at her, but Anna could feel the anger emanating from him like heat from a furnace. Helen approached her with measured steps, waiting until the room emptied. "Do you know what you've just gotten yourself into?" Helen asked in a low voice, her brown eyes fixed on Anna. "This is not a game. If you've really found something, there are people here who won't like being exposed at all." "I know," Anna replied, swallowing hard. "But I can't let 800 people lose their jobs when there might be a way to prevent it." Helen studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Come to my office tomorrow at 7 in the morning. We'll start with the basic reports and see where that takes us. And Anna," she added, lowering her voice even further, "be careful with Robert. He's not the type of person who takes challenges lightly." That night Anna barely slept. Lying on the narrow sofa in the living room of her 2-room apartment in Queens, she relived every second of that day. What had she done? She had risked everything for an intuition, for numbers she had glimpsed, for a suspicion that might lead nowhere. What if she was wrong? What if Nexus Solutions was a legitimate company and she had simply misinterpreted the documents? From the next room she heard her mother stir in bed. Anna quietly got up and went to check. Mrs. Lucy was sleeping with her mouth slightly open, her breathing regular but labored. The right side of her face was still a little droopy, a sequela of the stroke that had almost taken her. Anna adjusted the blanket over her and kissed her forehead. "I'll fix this, Mom," she whispered. "Somehow I'll fix it." The next morning, Anna arrived at Helen's office exactly at 7 o'clock. The CFO was already there, 2 cups of coffee on the table and a stack of folders next to the computer. "Come in," Helen said, indicating a chair. "Let's start at the beginning. Show me exactly what you saw." Anna sat down, her hands sweating slightly. She described the documents she had seen during her cleanings, the approximate dates, the values she had managed to memorize. Helen listened attentively, making notes in a pad. "Nexus Solutions," Helen murmured, typing on the computer. "Let's see what we have here." Her fingers flew over the keyboard, opening screens, searching files. After a few minutes, she turned the screen to Anna. "Here. Consulting contracts for process optimization. 6 contracts in the last 6 months, each valued at $500,000. Anna leaned forward, studying the documents on the screen. "But where are the reports? Where is the work they supposedly delivered?" Helen clicked on other tabs, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It should be in the attached files, but there's nothing. Just the signed contracts and the payment invoices." She leaned back in her chair, biting her lower lip. "This is strange, very strange. Normally, for contracts of this magnitude, we have detailed reports, presentations, documented meetings." "Who approved these contracts?" Anna asked. Helen clicked again, navigating through the internal systems. Here it is. All were approved and signed by Robert Finch in his capacity as administrative director. She looked at Anna, and there was something in her eyes now, a spark of understanding. "You might be right. There might be something wrong here." The following days turned into a double and exhausting routine for Anna. During the day, she continued with her cleaning duties, pushing her cart through the corridors, emptying trash cans, cleaning bathrooms. But now she did all this with heightened attention, her ears always alert to conversations, her eyes always searching for any detail that might be relevant. She had become an accidental spy, using her social invisibility as a cloak of protection. At night, after Mrs. Lucy was asleep and the caregiver had left, Anna sat at the small kitchen table with her old notebook, studying the digital copies that Helen discreetly provided her. Invoices, bank statements, payment schedules. She created spreadsheets, drew graphs, looked for patterns, and the patterns were there. The payments to Nexus Solutions followed a precise calendar. Every 15th of each month, $500,000 was transferred, always on the same date, always the same amount, always with the same generic justification: process optimization consulting. But what most caught Anna's attention was the destination account. It was a business account at a different bank than Horizon Global normally used. She needed more information. She needed to find out who was really behind Nexus Solutions, and for that, she would need to leave the relative comfort of digital files and go to the source. On the 10th day of her investigation, Anna asked her supervisor for a day off, inventing a medical appointment for her mother. It was a lie that weighed on her conscience, but it was necessary. She took the subway to Grand Central Station and from there walked to the registered address of Nexus Solutions, which was listed on the invoices, Broadway number 1823. When she arrived at the location, Anna stopped on the sidewalk, her stomach churning. The address did not correspond to any commercial building. It was a vacant lot, surrounded by old graffitied hoardings with weeds growing between the cracks in the cement. A homeless man slept, leaning against one of the hoardings covered in cardboard. Across the street, a diner operated with a few tables on the sidewalk. Anna crossed the street and entered the diner. The owner, a man in his 60s with a grease-stained apron, was wiping the counter with a cloth. "Good morning," Anna said, trying to keep her voice casual. "I'm looking for a company that's supposed to be on this street. Nexus Solutions. Do you know it?" The man frowned, thoughtful. "Nexus Solutions? Never heard of it. And I've been here for 15 years. That lot across the street has been abandoned. For at least 10 years. Every now and then someone comes by saying they're going to build, but it never materializes." Anna felt her heart race. "Are you sure?" "It's number 1823. "I'm sure, miss. There's no company by that name around here." The man served her a coffee she hadn't ordered and pushed the cup towards her. "You look like you need it." Anna drank the coffee automatically, her mind working frantically. A ghost company. It had to be. Someone was creating false contracts, issuing fraudulent invoices, and embezzling millions of dollars from Horizon Global. And everything pointed to Robert Finch. But she needed proof. concrete proof that left no room for doubt. She thanked the diner owner and left, taking photos of the vacant lot with her cell phone, photos of the number on the sidewalk, the hoardings, the property sign that showed the land belonged to the city. When she returned to her apartment that afternoon, Anna found Helen waiting for her at the building entrance. The CFO was wearing casual clothes, without her usual business suit, and seemed nervous. "We need to talk," Helen said without preamble. "Somewhere no one can hear us." They went up to Anna's apartment. Mrs. Lucy was sleeping, and the caregiver nodded silently before returning her attention to the television in the living room. Anna led Helen to the small backyard behind the building, where some clothes hung on the line. "I found something," Helen said, keeping her voice low. "I managed to access more detailed transaction records. The account receiving payments from Nexus Solutions has suspicious movements. Soon after the money comes in, 30% is transferred to a personal account." "Whose?" Anna asked, though she already knew the answer. "I haven't fully traced it yet. The account is in the name of an offshore company in the Cayman Islands. But the transfer patterns, the times, everything indicates that someone within the company is coordinating it." Helen hesitated, biting her lip. "Anna, this is much bigger than we thought. If Robert is really behind this, he won't simply let you expose him. You need to be very careful." Helen's words echoed in Anna's mind throughout that night. She was dealing with something much larger and more dangerous than she had initially imagined. It wasn't just a matter of wrong numbers or poor management. It was a deliberate operation of resource diversion. And if Robert was truly involved, he had a lot to lose. Anna spent the following days in a state of hypervigilance. Every time she cleaned the administrative floor, she felt Robert's eyes on her. He had started coming out of his office more frequently, watching her work with an undecipherable expression. He said nothing, just stood there, arms crossed, as if his mere presence was a silent warning. On the 16th day of the investigation, Anna was cleaning the women's restroom on the 12th floor when she heard voices in the corridor. It was late, almost 8 at night, and she thought she was alone on that floor. Instinctively, she stopped what she was doing and fell silent, the bathroom door ajar. "You need to control the situation," said a male voice that Anna immediately recognized as Robert's. "That woman is meddling where she shouldn't. Helen is helping her. I know she is." Another voice responded, deeper and less familiar. "Maybe you're paranoid. She's just a cleaner." What could she really discover? Robert let out a humorless laugh. "She's not just a cleaner. She studied business administration. She understands numbers. And worse, she has Mr. Alistair's protection. Now, this idiotic challenge he proposed put me in a vulnerable position. Then fix it." The other voice sounded impatient. "Do what you have to do, but leave no traces. We can't afford to draw attention now. We're almost there." Anna felt her blood run cold. They were talking about her, and the implicit threat in their words was clear. She waited until the voices moved away down the corridor before leaving the restroom with trembling legs. She needed to warn Helen. She needed to accelerate the investigation. But the opportunity she needed came in an unexpected way. The next day, while cleaning Robert's office, Anna noticed something she had never perceived before. She was wiping under the filing cabinet when her cloth caught on something. Kneeling down, she saw that one of the decorative tiles running along the baseboard was loose. Her heart pounded. With slightly trembling hands, she carefully pulled out the tile. Behind it, there was a small, hollow space. And inside that space, a tiny black USB stick with no markings. Anna quickly glanced at the door, checking if no one was around, then grabbed the USB stick and hid it in the pocket of her uniform. She carefully put the tile back in place, making sure it was exactly as it had been. She was finishing cleaning the desk when she heard the door open behind her. She turned quickly and found Robert standing at the entrance, his expression grim. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, they just stared at each other. "Working late, Anna?" Robert asked, his voice dangerously calm as he closed the door behind him. Such admirable dedication. Anna forced herself to maintain composure. "Just finishing the cleaning, sir. I'm leaving now." Robert took a few steps towards her, shortening the distance between them. The office suddenly seemed smaller, the walls closer. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about you lately, about how a simple cleaning employee suddenly developed such a deep interest in the company's financial affairs." Anna kept her expression neutral, though she could feel the USB stick burning in her pocket like a hot iron. "I just want to help the company, sir. Avoid the layoffs if possible." "Ah, yes. How noble." Robert stopped just a meter away, his dark eyes fixed on her. "But tell me, Anna, do you really think you can make a difference? You who have no power, no position, nothing but an incomplete degree and a minimum wage?" Anna felt anger bubble in her chest, but she kept it under control. "Everyone can make a difference, sir. It just depends on having the courage to try." "Courage," Robert repeated the word as if it was something bitter on his tongue. "Or is it foolishness? Because sometimes the line between the two is very thin, especially when one has so much to lose." He paused, letting the words hang in the air for a moment. "How is your mother, by the way? Mrs. Lucy, isn't it? I hear she needs constant medical care. It must be very expensive." Robert's cordial tone did not hide the implicit threat. Anna felt her stomach clench. "Are you threatening me?" "Threatening?" Robert feigned surprise, opening his hands in an innocent gesture. "Not at all. I'm just observing that it would be a shame if something disrupted the continuity of those treatments. If, for example, you lost your job for insubordination. Or worse, if you faced legal problems for stealing confidential information." "I didn't steal anything," Anna said firmly, though the USB stick in her pocket seemed to weigh a ton. "Not yet." Robert took another step closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "But I know you're planning to do something stupid. I can see it in your eyes. You think you've found something, don't you? You think you can expose me, destroy me." He smiled, but it was a cold, humorless smile. "Let me explain something about how the world works, Anna. People like me, with connections, with resources, with expensive lawyers, always survive. People like you, you're disposable." Anna forced herself to look directly into his eyes, refusing to show the fear she felt. "If you have nothing to hide, why are you so nervous?" Robert's mask slipped for a second, revealing genuine anger. He leaned even closer, and Anna could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something that smelled like whiskey. "Because I don't like rats trying to sink the ship," he spat, "and I always get rid of the rats. Always." He then stepped back, smoothing his suit as if the conversation hadn't happened. "Finish your work and go home, Anna, and think carefully about your next choices. Some doors once opened cannot be closed again." After Robert left, Anna stood in the middle of the office for several minutes, just trying to control her breathing. Her hands trembled so violently that she needed to sit in Robert's chair for a moment. The threat had been clear. Robert knew about her mother, knew about her vulnerability, and was willing to use it. That night, Anna barely slept. She lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, the USB stick hidden inside a cookie tin in the kitchen cabinet. Every noise in the building made her jump. Every car passing on the street outside seemed like a threat. Would Robert be capable of doing something against her mother? At 5 in the morning, as the sky began to lighten, Anna made a decision. She couldn't open the USB stick on the company computer. Any corporate network could be monitored. She needed Helen's help, but she needed to be careful, very careful. The next day, Anna met Helen in the parking lot before work started. She told her about the USB stick, about the confrontation with Robert, about the threats. Helen listened to everything with an increasingly serious expression. "You can't go back now," Helen said finally. "If Robert thinks you have something that can compromise him, you're already in danger anyway. Our only option is to go forward quickly and ensure we have solid evidence before he can make any move against you." "How are we going to open the USB stick without being traced?" Anna asked. Helen thought for a moment. "I have a personal laptop at home. It's not connected to the company network. We can use it." She looked around the parking lot, checking if no one was around. "I'll take it home tonight. Can you come to my place after work?" Anna agreed. The rest of the day passed in agonizing slowness. Every minute felt like an hour. She did her work mechanically, her mind far away, planning, fearing, hoping. She saw Robert twice during the day, and on both occasions he watched her with that calculating gaze that made her spine tingle. Finally, at 7 in the evening, Anna rang the doorbell of Helen's apartment in Greenwich Village. Helen opened the door quickly, pulling her inside. Her apartment was spacious and well decorated, with bookshelves full of books and modern paintings on the walls. Totally different from Anna's small apartment in Queens. "Let's go to my office," Helen said, guiding Anna down a corridor to a smaller room with a desk, a desktop computer, and a bookshelf full of files. She turned on her personal laptop and waited for it to boot up. "Ready?" Anna took the USB stick from her pocket and handed it to Helen with hands that still trembled slightly. "As ready as I'll ever be." Helen inserted the USB stick. The screen showed several folders with coded names. She began to open the folders one by one, and what they found made both of them turn pale. There were contracts with hidden clauses, detailed spreadsheets showing the diversions, documented bank transfers, and most incriminating of all, emails. Dozens of emails between Robert and contacts from various companies. Emails discussing kickbacks, return percentages, methods to disguise payments. There was even a text file with offshore account passwords and detailed instructions on how to launder money through a network of shell companies. "My God," Helen whispered, her hands covering her mouth. "This is much worse than I imagined. He's not just embezzling money from Horizon. He has an entire scheme. Several companies, several fraudulent contracts. This must total at least $10 million. Anna felt nauseated. "We need to make copies, lots of copies, in different places." Helen was already moving the mouse, connecting an external hard drive, uploading to cloud services with accounts not linked to the company. "I'll send copies to my personal email too, and you should do the same. The more places we have this stored, the safer we'll be." They spent the next 2 hours organizing the evidence, creating clearly categorized folders, printing the most important documents. When they finished, it was past 10 at night. Anna was exhausted, but she also felt something she hadn't felt in days: hope. "We have what we need," Helen said, looking at the pile of printed documents. "This is enough to take him down. Should we deliver it to Mr. Alistair tomorrow?" Anna hesitated. "There are still 14 days until the deadline. If we deliver it now, Robert will know we found the USB stick. He'll have time to fabricate a defense, to hire lawyers, to start destroying additional evidence." She thought for a moment. "We need to be absolutely sure. We need to trace where this money went, find the final accounts, link everything directly to him in a way he can't deny." The following days were a race against time. Anna and Helen worked in parallel, cross-referencing information, tracing transactions, building a solid and irrefutable case against Robert. During the day, Anna continued her cleaning routine, but now with renewed purpose. Every document left on a desk, every conversation overheard in the corridors, every detail became part of a larger puzzle she was meticulously assembling. Helen used her access to banking systems to track the flow of money. It was meticulous and risky work. Each query left a digital trail, and Helen knew that if Robert suspected she was actively investigating, he could delete evidence or worse, turn his full attention against her as well. But the CFO had decided that some things were worth the risk. The integrity of the company was one of them. Justice was another. On the 23rd day of the investigation, Helen made a crucial discovery. She called Anna for a meeting in a discreet cafe far from the office, a small place in Chinatown where no one from Horizon Global usually went. Anna arrived first, choosing a table at the back away from the windows. Her heart pounded. Helen's call had sounded urgent. "I found the final account," Helen said as soon as she sat down, without even ordering a coffee. Her voice was low, but there was a contained excitement in her eyes. "It took 6 layers of offshore companies, but I managed to trace it. The money diverted from Nexus Solutions passes through companies in the Cayman Islands, then through an account in Jersey, then Panama, and finally reaches an account in Luxembourg. And do you know whose account it is?" "Robert's," Anna replied, though she already knew the answer. "Not just his." Helen took some folded sheets from her bag and placed them on the table. "The account is in the name of Robert Finch and his partner, Michael Vance. Do you know that name?" Anna frowned, thinking. Michael Vance. The name sounds familiar, but I can't place it. Wait, isn't he the company's accountant? That tall, bespectacled man who works in the finance department? Exactly. Helen nodded gravely. He's the senior accountant. He has access to all systems, all transactions. He's the one who approves the payments after Robert signs the contracts. They've been working together for months, maybe since Robert was hired. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place in Anna's mind. That's why it was so easy for Robert to create the fake contracts. Michael handled all the technical aspects, ensuring that payments passed through the systems without raising suspicion. They were a team. How much did they steal in total? By my calculations, between the diversions from Horizon and other companies I managed to identify from the USB stick emails, we're talking about at least $15 million. Helen let the number hang in the air for a moment. 15 million, Anna. It's enough money to completely destroy Horizon Global. Anna felt anger grow in her chest. While honest employees were about to lose their jobs, while families prepared for difficult times, Robert and Michael were diverting millions to overseas accounts. We need to expose them, now. There are 7 days left until the deadline, Helen reminded her. Do you want to wait until then or present the evidence sooner? Anna thought carefully. If they waited until the last day, they would be sure to have covered all angles, to leave no loopholes. But it also gave Robert and Michael more time to realize they were being investigated. It was a delicate balance between preparation and risk. Let's wait 3 more days, Anna decided. Enough time to organize everything perfectly, but not so much that they can surprise us. On the 27th day, we present everything to Mr. Alistair. Helen agreed, but there was concern on her face. Anna, you need to be very careful in the coming days. Robert is nervous, I can see it. He's been asking for specific financial reports, asking questions about system access. He's looking for signs that someone is investigating. I'll be careful, Anna promised, though she knew the words were easier than the actions. That night, when Anna returned home, she found her mother awake in the living room, sitting in the armchair they had bought, especially for her recovery. Mrs. Lucy had improved considerably in recent months. Her movements were still slow, her speech still a little slurred, but she was there, present, fighting. Seeing Anna enter, she smiled, and it was a crooked but genuine smile. "Daughter, you look tired," Mrs. Lucy said, her words coming out slowly but clearly. "Is something wrong at work?" Anna sat on the sofa next to her mother and took her hand. "No, Mum, I've just been working on a special project, but it's almost finished." Mrs. Lucy squeezed her hand with all the strength she could muster. "You've always been so dedicated, so strong. Sometimes I worry you carry the world on your shoulders alone." "I'm not alone, Mom. I have you." Anna felt her eyes sting with tears she refused to let fall. "And soon everything will get better, I promise." In the following days, the tension in the Horizon Global office was palpable. Anna could feel Robert's eyes following her through the corridors. He had made no more direct threats, but his presence was a constant threat in itself. Michael Vance, the accountant, also began to appear more frequently on the administrative floor, always finding excuses to pass by the places where Anna worked. It was as if both were waiting for her to make a mistake, to reveal what she knew. On the 26th day, 1 day before Anna and Helen planned to present the evidence to the CEO, something unexpected happened. Anna was cleaning the corridor near Robert's office when she heard agitated voices coming from inside. The door was ajar, and she immediately recognized the voices of Robert and Michael. "Ah, you sure she has the USB stick?" Michael's voice sounded tense, almost desperate. "Because if she does, we're finished." "I'm sure," Robert replied, and there was barely contained anger in his tone. "I checked the hiding place. The USB stick is gone, and it could only have been her. There was no one else in the room that day." "Then why hasn't she done anything yet? Why hasn't she run to Mr. Alistair?" "Because she's smart. Smarter than I gave her credit for. She's waiting, building a stronger case, or maybe she's scared." There was a pause, then Robert continued, his voice lower but still audible. "It doesn't matter, we have to act tonight. We'll clean up everything we can, transfer the remaining funds, and be ready to disappear if necessary." "And Anna? She'll have an accident. Nothing fatal, just enough to keep her hospitalized and too scared to continue. A mugging in the parking lot, perhaps. These things happen all the time in New York City. Anna felt her blood run cold. They were planning to hurt her. No, worse. They were planning to make it look like a random accident. She backed away silently, her heart beating so hard she was sure they could hear it. She needed to warn Helen. She needed to warn Mr. Alistair. She couldn't wait another day. It had to be now. Anna practically ran to Helen's office. The CFO was in a meeting, but Anna didn't care. She knocked on the door urgently until Helen appeared, apologizing to her colleagues and stepping into the corridor. "What happened?" Helen asked, alarmed by the expression on Anna's face. "They know." Anna grabbed Helen's arm. "They know I have the USB stick, and they're planning to do something against me tonight. We have to act. Now?" Helen paled. "I'll schedule an emergency meeting with Mr. Alistair now. Do you have all the evidence with you?" "I have copies in my locker in the changing room, and you have the others." "Go get everything. We'll meet in his office in 15 minutes. Helen was already typing on her cell phone, sending urgent messages. "And Anna, stay close to people. Don't be alone anywhere until this is over." Anna ran to the employees' changing room in the building's basement. Her hands trembled as she opened her locker and grabbed the folder where she had kept all the printed copies of the evidence. Documents, emails, spreadsheets, photos of the vacant lot where Nexus Solutions was supposed to be. Everything was there, organized and catalogued. She was closing the locker when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned quickly and found Michael Vance standing at the changing room entrance. He was a tall, thin man with metal-framed glasses that reflected the fluorescent light. There was something predatory in his posture. "Anna," he said, and his tone was falsely friendly. "What a coincidence to find you here. I was looking for you." "I need to go, sir," Anna said, hugging the folder to her chest. "I have a meeting." "A meeting?" Michael took a step into the changing room. "With whom? With Helen? With Mr. Alistair?" He took another step, closing the distance between them. "Or will it be a meeting to hand over documents that don't belong to you?" Anna quickly looked around. The changing room was empty. It was almost 6 in the evening, and most of the day shift employees had already left. "Get out of the way," she said, trying to keep her voice firm. "I don't want any trouble." "Too late for that." Michael blocked the exit. "You've already caused enough trouble. You should have stayed in your place. You should have kept cleaning floors and kept your mouth shut." He extended his hand. "Give me that folder." "No." Anna recoiled, but hit the lockers behind her. She had nowhere to go. Michael advanced, and for a moment, Anna thought he would try to snatch the folder from her hands by force. But then a thunderous voice echoed from the stairwell leading to the changing room. "Michael, what's going on here?" Both turned and saw Mr. Alistair descending the steps, with Helen close behind him. The CEO looked furious, his face red with anger. Helen must have managed to bring him faster than Anna expected. Michael immediately backed away, raising his hands in a defensive gesture. "Mr. Alistair, I was just trying to speak with Anna about some irregularities I noticed in her behavior." "Irregularities," Mr. Alistair repeated, his voice cold as steel. "The only irregularity I see here is a senior accountant cornering an employee in the changing room. Get out of here, now, and go straight to my office. I'll want a detailed explanation about many things." Mr. Alistair's boardroom was in absolute silence. The CEO sat behind his imposing mahogany desk, fingers clasped, his face a mask of concentration as he read document after document. Anna sat in one of the chairs facing the desk, the folder open, all the evidence spread before them. Helen was by her side, pointing out specific details whenever necessary. Robert and Michael had been summoned but had not yet arrived. Mr. Alistair had ordered the head of security to locate them and bring them immediately, without explanation. The delay was making Anna increasingly nervous. "This is extraordinary," Mr. Alistair finally said, looking up from the documents. He seemed to have aged 10 years in the last hour. $15 million, $15 million. He ran a hand over his face, exhausted. "How could this have happened right under my nose? How did I not see it?" "They were very careful, sir," Helen said softly. The contract seemed legitimate at first glance. Approvals followed normal procedures. It was only when Anna started looking for patterns and inconsistencies that everything began to unravel. Mr. Alistair looked at Anna with an expression that blended admiration and sadness. "You risked everything for this. Your job, your safety. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do," Anna replied simply. "And because 800 people didn't deserve to lose their jobs because of the greed of 2 men. Before the CEO could respond, the door opened and Robert entered, closely followed by Michael and the head of security, Mr. Davies, a burly and serious man. Robert still maintained his arrogant posture, but Anna could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes darted around the room, assessing the situation. "Mr. Alistair," Robert said, forcing a smile, "you sent for me?" "If this is about Anna and her unfounded accusations, I have already prepared a complete explanation about the legitimacy of all Nexus Solutions contracts." "Sit down," the CEO ordered, his voice sharp as steel. "Both of you, sit down and be quiet." Robert and Michael sat down, exchanging quick glances. Anna could practically see their minds working, trying to figure out how much they had been exposed, what would be the best defense strategy. Mr. Alistair pushed a stack of documents across the table towards Robert. "I would like you to look at these papers and explain what you see." Robert picked up the documents, his eyes scanning the pages. Anna saw the exact moment he recognized what he was seeing. His face lost color, and his hands began to tremble slightly. "Where did you get these?" he asked, his voice higher than normal. "It doesn't matter where I got them," Mr. Alistair replied. "What matters is that it's real. All of this is real." He stood up from his chair and began to walk around the office, his hands behind his back. "Shell companies, fraudulent contracts, diversion of funds to offshore accounts. $15 million, Robert. You and Michael stole $15 million from my company, from our company." "This is a misunderstanding," Robert began, but his voice lacked conviction. "Those contracts were approved through appropriate channels. Nexus Solutions is a legitimate consulting firm." "Oh, really?" Mr. Alistair picked up a photo from the stack of documents and threw it on the table in front of Robert. "Then can you explain why the registered address of your legitimate company is an abandoned vacant lot? And this," he picked up another photo showing bank statements. "Can you explain why 30% of each payment is immediately transferred to a personal account in Luxembourg, registered in your name?" Robert opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time since Anna had known him, he seemed completely lost. Michael was even worse, slumped in his chair, his face in his hands, visibly trembling. "These," Mr. Alistair continued, pointing to the printed emails, "are your own words. Discussions about kickbacks, about how to disguise payments, about how to split the profits. It's all here, Robert. Every word, every number, every transaction." He leaned over the table, his face inches from Robert's. "You destroyed this company. You brought it to the brink of bankruptcy. You forced mass layoffs. And all for what? For greed?" Robert swallowed hard, his mask of confidence finally cracking completely. "I can explain. I can return the money. We can make a deal." "A deal?" Mr. Alistair's voice rose an octave. "You think I'll make a deal after what you've done, after you've almost destroyed everything I've built in 30 years? Think about the company's image," Robert said desperately. "If this becomes public, Horizon Global will sink anyway. Investors will flee. Clients will cancel contracts. But if we make a discreet deal, if I return the funds and simply leave, we can avoid a scandal." Anna saw the CEO hesitate. For a moment she thought he might actually consider the proposal. After all, Robert had a point. A public scandal could do more harm than good to the already fragile company. But then Anna stood up from her chair. "With all due respect, sir," she said, her voice clear and firm, "there can be no deal. Not this time." She looked directly at Robert. "If we let him leave quietly, we will be sending a message that this type of behavior is acceptable, that people in positions of power can steal, lie, and destroy lives without real consequences." "Anna," Robert interjected, trying to sound reasonable. "You don't understand how the corporate world works. Sometimes concessions must be made for the greater good." "I understand perfectly," Anna replied. "I understand that for months I saw my colleagues worrying about their jobs, about their families, about how they would pay their bills. I understand that 800 people were about to lose everything because you decided you deserved millions of dollars." She took a step towards him. "And I understand that if we let you walk away without facing the consequences, we will be telling all those employees that their lives don't matter. That corporate convenience is more important than justice." Mr. Alastair looked at Anna for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Then he picked up the phone on his desk and dialed a number. "Mr. Davies, can you come here, please, and bring 2 of your security guards?" He hung up and looked at Robert and Michael. "You will remain here under surveillance while I contact our lawyers and the appropriate authorities. There will be no deals, there will be no confidentiality. What you did will be fully exposed." Robert jumped to his feet, his face now red with rage. "You'll regret this, Alastair," he shouted. "I have contacts, expensive lawyers. I'll drag you and this company through the courts. I'll make sure every sordid detail of what happened here becomes public. I'll destroy you." "You've done enough already," the CEO responded calmly, "and now you'll pay for it." The door opened, and the head of security entered with 2 uniformed guards. "Take these 2 to the security room, and don't take your eyes off them until the police arrive." As Robert and Michael were escorted out of the office, Robert cast one last, poisonous look at Anna. "You'll regret getting involved in this," he snarled. "This isn't over." But for Anna, it seemed very much over. She sat down again, her legs suddenly weak. All the fear, all the tension of the last 30 days seemed to collapse on her at once. Helen placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You were incredibly brave," Helen said softly. "And incredibly stupid, too." She smiled slightly. "But mostly brave." Mr. Alastair returned to his chair, suddenly looking very tired. "I'll need a few days to process all this, to speak with the lawyers, with the police, with the administrative board." He looked at Anna. "But one thing is clear, you saved this company. Not only did you discover the problem, but you had the courage to confront it when you could easily have looked the other way." "I couldn't have looked the other way, sir," Anna said, "not after knowing the truth." The CEO nodded slowly. "The agreement we made is still on. You proved your theory. You found the financial hole. More than that, you exposed a complex criminal operation that would have continued bleeding this company until nothing was left. You won the coup." "Price? $1 million. Anna felt tears stinging in her eyes, but she held them back. $1 million. The realization of what that meant hit her in waves. All the treatments her mother needed, all the education she had postponed, all the financial worries that had kept her awake at night for years, all of it could finally be resolved. But then she looked at the audience. She saw the faces of her colleagues, people who had experienced the same fears as her, who had worried about their families, who had lost sleep thinking about imminent layoffs, and Anna knew what she had to do. "Mr. Alastair," she said, her voice coming out louder than she intended through the microphone the CEO held. "With all due respect, I cannot accept all that money." A shocked silence fell over the auditorium. The CEO himself looked surprised. "Anna, you earned this. It's rightfully yours." "I know, sir, and I thank you immensely, but the truth is, I only need a part of it." She took a deep breath, gathering courage for the next words. "I need enough to pay for my mother's full treatment and to finish my college degree. That's approximately $200,000. The rest," she paused, looking at the audience, "I would like it to be distributed as a bonus among all employees who had their benefits cut during the crisis, especially those who, like me, work behind the scenes keeping this company running every day." For a moment, no one reacted. Then, someone in the back of the auditorium began to applaud. Another joined, and then another. In seconds, the entire auditorium was on its feet, applauding, many with tears in their eyes. Anna felt her own tears begin to fall, but this time she let them fall freely. Mr. Alastair was visibly moved. His voice choked when he spoke again. "This is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. He cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. And this brings me to the next announcement. Anna, you clearly have an exceptional talent for financial analysis and an integrity that is rare at any corporate level. Therefore, I am offering you a full scholarship to complete your degree in business administration. And when you graduate, there is a position waiting for you in our finance department if you wish. The audience erupted in applause again. Anna could barely believe what she was hearing. A scholarship, a real job with a future. It was more than she had dreamed of. I accept, sir, she managed to say. Thank you very much. In the following months, Anna's life changed in ways she had never imagined. She returned to college, this time without the constant financial pressure. With the money she had kept, she was able to pay for all the treatments Mrs. Lucy needed. Intensive physical therapy, better medications, specialist consultations. Her mother's improvement was remarkable. Although the sequelae of the stroke never completely disappeared, Mrs. Lucy regained much of her mobility and mental clarity. Anna's story went national. She was invited to television shows, to give interviews on podcasts, to speak at corporate events about ethics and integrity. Wherever she went, her message was the same. Anyone can make a difference, no matter their position, their education, or their background. What matters is having the courage to do what is right, even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. Robert and Michael's trial took place 6 months after their arrest. Anna was called as the main witness. Sitting in the witness box, she looked directly at Robert, who avoided her gaze. She testified calmly, presenting the facts without emotion, letting the truth speak for itself. The defense lawyers tried to discredit her, pointing to her humble background, her lack of a complete degree, suggesting that she couldn't really understand the complexities of corporate finance. But each time they tried, Anna responded with clear and precise knowledge, citing numbers from memory, explaining complex concepts in simple terms. It was impossible to deny that she knew exactly what she was talking about. In the end, both were convicted. Robert received 8 years in prison, Michael 6 years. In addition, they were ordered to return all assets acquired with the stolen money and to pay substantial fines. When the sentence was read, Anna felt no joy or satisfaction, only a sense of closure, of justice having been done. 1 year after the scheme's exposure, Anna was back in the Horizon Global Auditorium, but this time for a celebration. The company had not only fully recovered, but was thriving. With the recovered funds and a new transparent administration, Horizon Global had expanded its operations and hired an additional 100 employees. The layoffs that had been planned never happened. Anna was graduating that week, and Mr. Alistair had organized a special recognition ceremony. When her name was called and she walked onto the stage, the ovation was deafening. But the moment she valued most was not the public recognition. It was when she looked at the front row and saw her mother, Mrs. Lucy, sitting there, smiling with tears streaming down her face. Beside her was Helen, who had become not only a colleague, but a true friend. 3 years passed. Anna was now the CFO of Horizon Global, the youngest person to hold that position in the company's history. She had implemented new verification systems, transparency protocols, and ethical training programs for all employees. Under her supervision, the company was not only financially secure, but had become a model of responsible corporate governance. But what Anna valued most was not her title or her salary. It was knowing that she had made a difference, that 800 families had not lost their livelihoods, that justice had prevailed, that doing the right thing, even when difficult, was worth it. On a sunny Saturday morning, Anna was in a university auditorium, not as a student, but as a guest speaker. She had been invited to speak to a class of business administration graduates about business ethics and leadership. As she stepped onto the podium and looked at the young faces full of hope and ambition, she smiled. "You are about to enter the corporate world," she began. "Some of you will quickly assume leadership positions. Others will start in more modest positions. But regardless of where you start, I want you to remember something. Your position does not define your worth. Your title does not define your ability to make a difference. What defines you are your choices, especially when those choices are difficult. She paused, letting her words settle. 3 years ago, I was a cleaning employee who hadn't finished college. I had no power, no influence, nothing but an intuition and the courage to speak up. But that courage changed everything. Not just for me, but for hundreds of other people. So I tell you, never underestimate the power of doing what is right. Never underestimate the power of your own voice. The students applauded, but Anna had not yet finished. The greatest lesson I learned, she continued, is that integrity is not something you have when it's convenient. It's something you maintain, especially when it's inconvenient, when it costs something, when it puts you at risk, because it's in those moments that true strength of character is revealed. After the lecture, several students approached Anna with questions and thanks. One young woman in particular caught her attention. She was a girl who seemed to be the age Anna was when everything began, with determined but also worried eyes. "Ms. Sterling," the girl said timidly, "I come from a humble family. My parents are cleaners. Sometimes I wonder if I can compete with other students who come from more privileged families, who have connections and resources that I don't." Anna took the girl's hands in hers. "Listen," she said firmly, "where you come from doesn't determine where you're going. I was a cleaner. My mother had a stroke, and I had to defer college. I had no connections, no privileges, but I had determination, integrity, and courage, and that was enough, more than enough." She smiled. "You have everything you need within you. Never doubt that." The girl left with tears in her eyes, but smiling, and Anna knew that her story would continue to inspire others, just as she had been, inspired by those who came before her and did the right thing against all odds. That night, Anna was at home with Mrs. Lucy, who now moved around the house with only a light cane for support. They were on the small balcony of the new apartment Anna had bought in a better neighborhood, drinking tea and watching the sunset over New York City. "Are you happy, daughter?" Mrs. Lucy asked, her voice clear and strong now. Anna thought about the question. Was she happy? She had a good job, a comfortable salary, respect and recognition. Her mother was healthy. She had finished her studies. But more than all that, she had something more valuable. She had the certainty that she had made a difference, that she had chosen the right path, even when it was the most difficult. "Yes, Mom," Anna finally replied. "I am very happy, not because of the money or the position, but because I know I did what was right, and that's something no one can take away from me." Mrs. Lucy smiled and squeezed her daughter's hand. "I always knew you were special. Ever since you were little, you always wanted to do the right thing, always wanted to help others. I'm so proud of you." And as the sun set over the city, painting the sky orange and pink, Anna reflected on her journey. From an invisible cleaner to a respected executive, from someone who cleaned offices to someone who managed them, but more importantly, from someone who saw injustice and had the courage to confront it. Her story had become more than just hers. It had become a symbol that integrity matters, that courage can change everything, that doing the right thing is worth it even when it seems impossible. And that, Anna knew, was the true reward. Not the $1 million, not the impressive title, but the certainty that she had used her voice when it mattered. And by doing so, she had changed not only her life, but the lives of hundreds of other people. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope Anna Beatrice's story has touched your hearts and inspired you to never underestimate the power of doing what is right. Anna showed us that courage is not about social position or power, but about choosing to stand up for the truth even when everything seems to be against us. If this story has touched you in any way, we ask that you subscribe to our channel and leave a like on this video. Share your thoughts in the comments, tell us about times when you needed courage to do the right thing, or simply leave a word of support for others who may be facing similar dilemmas. Every day we bring real and inspiring stories like this, exploring the complexity of life, the challenges of ethics, and the transformative power of integrity. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our next stories. Remember, every story we share is a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, regardless of who we are or where we come from. See you in the comments and in the next story.